to the metal when I'm getting to the bag, ayy. Got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast, ayy. Let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss, ayy.
This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agents' success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Hey guys, before we jump into the episode, I wanted to let you know it is brought to you by the NMFTA. Let me ask you a question. Do you ship LTL freight? Then listen up, because the NMFC changes went live on July 19th, and they're the biggest updates in the history of freight classification. Now more than ever, accuracy matters. That's why carriers, shippers, and brokers alike are turning to Class IT Plus, the NMFTA's new digital platform for real-time NMFC data. Stop guessing, start classifying smarter, and quote freight with confidence. It's time to get your ship together because the NMFC changes are already here. Learn more at nmfcchanges.com and get started with Class IT Plus at classitplus.com. Just do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I do say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Thursday, everybody. Corey Buchan, good morning to you, brother. We are got a very special guest for you guys here today. You know, we talked about the Chameleon carrier thing that the DOT is going through right now. And, you know, a lot of these things are, you know, like on the insurance side of things, or like there's a lot of back of the house stuff that happens. And how do you spot this stuff, though? And that's what I always like to talk about on the show, because, you know, your boy actually moves freight, and it's only a matter of time before one of these situations falls in my lap, and I want you guys to be prepared for it. And fortunately, I know a lot of guys in this industry who are very passionate about what they do. They also hate fraudulent people. So they are going to come on here and help us all spot a bunch of this stuff. So I got my man Cam with Valiant Trucking Insurance back on the show. Dude, thank you so much for taking the time to join me.
Yeah, what's happening, my guy? How you been?
Dude, I've been good. And I always appreciate your willingness to come on and break this down and really just help the industry as a whole, right? Because it's like, it's so, you know, we see these headlines, and it's seemingly every day now that it's some other ring, or Chameleon carriers is what they're on now, and CDL schools and EL, like there's a bunch of stuff, but like ultimately, man, it kind of starts and stops with the insurance, and like seeing like what paper trail is out there, what can people do to protect themselves from potentially falling into this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what's funny about all this is you've been in the industry long enough. I've been in the industry for about 20 years, so this is not new. This is, you know, nothing about the organized crime for the targeting of freight, and, you know, all the things that are happening are not new. Now, how some of the approaches they take, or advance of AI and technologies and the ability to clone and do like all the stuff they can manipulate, maybe the tactics are a little bit different, but it's stuff we've saw and have been seeing for such a long time. Chameleon carriers, you know, from my side of the fence, doing the insurance, but dealing in the trucking industry for, you know, close to 20 years now, We used to see it a ton. And back when there wasn't as much access to the data with like FMCSA's database or some of these tools like CAB or, there's a ton of companies out there that basically they'll gather all the public data, put it back out for you to kind of research and use as your own tool. It was harder to spot, right? Like it was kind of whack-a-mole. And so these companies knew, I run up my out of service, I do whatever, terrible things. That DOT is trash. They basically shut it down, move to a new address, new phone number, start up another company, and no one's the wiser. Well, now it's a little bit harder to do that. So now the technologies and tools, like at least from my end. So if I have a customer, like freight brokers of mine that I work with, say, hey, can you do me a favor? Maybe just what do you see on this carrier? Something doesn't feel right. We can plug it into the back and do a couple different tools that we use that'll flag. It's not foolproof, not 100%, but it'll flag, hey, likely or high likelihood a Chameleon carrier, and then it'll cite the reasons why. And it could be a phone number, could be an email, could be a address, could be VIN numbers, could be whatever. There's a number of things that it shows that say, hey, this is a potential. Not to say it is, but look into it a little bit more. So that's a couple, like, that's what we do, at least for our customers on that side of the house. And then obviously certificates of insurance is a huge deal. Yeah. So like most people think really all a COI or a COI is, or however people are going to refer to it, is a piece of paper, right? That's all it is. It's like if I were to say, hey, Chris, how much money's in your bank account? You had a snapshot from 6 months ago, like a screenshot on your phone. You're like, oh, this is my bank account. Like that's as good as that piece of paper is. It really is. It doesn't mean anything. Yeah. It does mean potentially something if the broker or, the shipper, whoever is working with the customer at the end of the day has the right process in place to basically verify and have the SOPs in place to do like an actual, and I would consider it almost an investigation into the customer you're working with. Obviously there's, you have friends that you work with very, very closely, like, multiple times a week, and you can verify those people, but it's the customers that are in your database for highway or whoever you're using that, maybe you onboarded them and they were onboarded last year. So at renewal, they automatically onboard, but then that's the last time that insurance was checked, right? The certificate that's in there is active, but we don't know if it's actually active. Like we have no idea. Like I'm sure you've dealt with that, right?
I got a lot to unpack based on everything that you're talking about right here. Because like it's wild to me. And this is where, I will say this, the DOT right now, Secretary Duffy, this is the biggest spotlight I've ever seen on this industry in regard to how do we get this cleaned up and how do we do it quick? Like I'm of the mindset, and again, I'm not trying to like fearmonger or anything like this, Cam, but I think what this is going to spurn, and I said this months ago, that with this intense spotlight that's on there, I think this is going to drive an unprecedented amount of fraud and theft in the next year, potentially, because they're going to try and get as much as they can before they disappear into the night, right? Like, I think that this is what this is going to cause here inevitably. But like, this is why I think a lot of individuals need to get back to the old school tactics. And again, like carrier onboarding software gets an unfavorable reputation out there in the market. And I feel like all freight tech does, Cam, at the end of the day, because I feel like people are like, oh, I have this technology. Why doesn't it just do my job for me? Yeah. And I think what you're going to start to see is a lot of brokers will probably put an like a load booking rule in their stuff where it's like, hey, if this carrier hasn't been booked in 60 days, we got to re-verify all of their stuff. And I think that that's what we're going to see. And especially, and I wish I would have sent you this article here, but this one came out late last night about the DOT issued final ruling on the non-domiciled CDLs, and it's changing how that is all done. So I think like there's a lot of stuff that is going to be coming down the pipeline here, in regards to the way freight has been booked in the past. And I would almost look like, I think a lot of trucking companies and brokers are going to be implementing stricter load booking policies in the sense of like, hey, if we haven't booked them in 30 days, we gotta re-verify that their insurance is what they are and that they don't have non-domiciled drivers. It's on ttnews.com. Cam, if you want to jump on.
I saw that come through on the email this morning, and I mean, we could spend probably a show and a half going through some of that kind of stuff. But I think, like, for real quick on the certificates, so and it only takes a couple times to get burned, right, as a freight broker, to where it costs you money, and now you either got to make a choice to sue somebody or try to sue them or not have the cover, like whatever, to where you're like, hey, I have to call and verify from the insurance agency or insurance company that this piece of paper is true. Because here's what happens, like, it's just a piece of paper, right? Yes, it shows, hey, they have coverage. Here's policy number, NEIC number for the insurance carrier, has the agent contact, has all the stuff that on the surface you need to look at. You can back that up a little bit by going to FMCSA, going into the SMS portal side of things, looking at licensing and insurance, and you can see, is insurance active? All that, though, is referencing is liability. It has nothing to do with the cargo. Obviously, in the freight broker world, most of your guys' concern is going to be on the cargo. Now, it should be on contingent auto liability and a bunch of other stuff that you guys should have coverage for. But for the cargo, that's really the main focus there. That doesn't show, if their cargo policy cancels, that doesn't show there. And if they have a certificate that's old, that doesn't show it either. It doesn't update automatically, right? There's nothing that's going to send to you automatically that says, hey, this policy canceled, unless you are listed as additionally insured with notifications on each policy. Like, there's ways to do that. But that's something to kind of be aware of. So I think even a simple process of somebody that maybe it's 30 days, that's probably okay. Hey, I got to call and just talk to the insurance agency on this portion for the insurance piece, verify the active coverages, confirm this. I think it's going to get like a little wild if we have to, some companies are doing this, verify the driver, the VIN number of the truck, and do, like, there's a lot of things that are having to be done because of people picking it up that shouldn't be. Obviously, the regulatory stuff that's coming down the pipe, the social engineering aspect where you become a victim of fraud without knowing it because someone hijacked your DOT and you didn't realize it. Like, there's all these things that come into play. So, like, a lot of times we get thousands of certificate requests from our customers, right? We have customers all over the country. And if something looks off, our team knows that. And if it's just like, hey, this is a new, like, it's a new company to this person, we call our customer.
Yeah.
And we if you were my client, Chris, it'd be like, hey, Chris, we've got a request from XYZ company asking to get a certificate of insurance, and this is what it's in regards to. Is this legit? And there's been times where it's like, no, that's not legit. Or it's like, oh yeah, I just signed up with them. Thank you so much for like having my back. Appreciate it. Cool. Just a 30-second phone call. Done. So it's like stuff we do as well proactively to try to have your back as a customer of mine or a client of mine, to basically be like, hey, we're going to take the extra steps to protect you as well, because you're on your own, dude. Like, you're running everything on your own. You only have so much time, bandwidth, ability to pay attention to everything that's happening, and without systems, process, automation, support, or outsourcing or whatever, and it's still only as good as what the system or people are, you're still vulnerable. So I think the more tools, the more people, the more standardization that you have around that and SOPs around those processes, the better. You can't be too safe. And think of it like an investigative side of things instead of compliance to check a checkbox. But that's just a couple things I think to wrap up on that little piece. So
yeah, so here is I think, and this is kind of off topic, but it's not at the exact same time, because I think this is very pertinent information. I think that with this is how I see the DOT kind of handling a lot of this stuff right now. Is obviously they started with the non-domiciled issues, and then, again, I for all of you guys who are listening right now, go to ttnews.com and look up the DOT issued final non-domiciled CDL rule. Read that article, because that is very pertinent information. I put it in the chat on YouTube as well, you guys, and I'm sharing it on the screen here if you guys want to see a visual and go out there and read this, because this information is going to potentially affect a lot of stuff here moving forward. But I look at this where they went after the CDL schools, which was great. They went after the ELD providers, which was great. I think cleaning those two up is a very, very positive step forward. My honest assumption on this, Cam, is there is a handful of fraudulent insurance providers that are issuing certificates of insurance to these companies that is allowing this to happen. And I think that is where the DOT needs to look next. I think they need to do a deep dive into the insurance side of things. I would just assume, again, I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I truly feel, though, in my heart of hearts, that it's all connected. I guarantee in a couple of years, when they've had enough time to decipher all the data, the CDL schools, the ELD companies,
Yeah.
and now they're onto insurance, I guarantee it's all in the exact same crime syndicate, because they are out there trying to cover their traps. And then I would even go a step further and look at loans, like the financing side of things. How are they able to even obtain this equipment? I think it would all be tied together. I wouldn't be surprised that they're going to be able to find the syndicate is in control of all of that stuff. And that's what's giving them access to even get on the road.
Yeah, it's funny for the headline. It dominated the headlines a while back, but like healthcare fraud, right? Remember when healthcare came about, like the conversation of it? You had attorneys, you had doctors, you had offices, you had billing offices, physical therapists, you had equipment provide, you had every single piece of the ring connected to the singular piece of fraud or the criminal act. It's organized crime is what it is. Like, call it what it is, right? Whoever it's organized by. I haven't seen it, but I would not be surprised kind of what you're talking about. What I have seen, though, is you are correct. So there are insurance agencies, agents out there, and they get busted. It's amazing to me. I see this all the time. People lose their license and go to prison or all kinds of stuff. But like basically they will, if you came to me, I need a policy. Okay, sounds good. We're going through everything. You act like you think it feels and smells and tastes like a real policy. You do the transaction. You give me money. I print out a piece of paper and say, here you go. That's what I give you. Piece of paper. Yeah. I don't actually book the insurance. I don't do anything with it. Or I maybe, whatever I choose to do. This is an unethical person doing that piece. And then, but you have a piece of paper that says I'm good. So somebody calls like, oh no, they're good. They got coverage. Okay. Yep. You're good. Okay. And you can show the proof of coverage. But it doesn't mean anything. Now in trucking, it's a little bit harder to do because keep in mind you have filings. So the filings with FMCSA, there's no way around that. Like those filings come straight from the actual insurance company themselves. So it like that would be a little tough to do, but this is kind of where you'll see either issues come in if it's intrastate where they don't have to be federally filed, right? Where they don't show up. Or if you look on your motor carrier, the history of their insurance tab, and it's like canceled, reinstated, canceled, reinstated, canceled, reinstated. Like it shows they have either billing issues. It shows something, right? It tells you a story, whatever that picture looks like. It creates a window of opportunity for someone to get insurance, get a certificate. It covers them, like you said, for 45 days, 60 days, however long. They can get the loads that they need. They never pay the insurance. It cancels. And then by then, it's another 45 days before the insurance shows is canceled. So now effectively, they've bought themselves a window, could be a hauling season, to go get loads and not actually have coverage, right? But someone like, maybe you wouldn't do this because you're a gangster, like you know what you're doing. But somebody could be like, oh, I look online, it shows they're active. Highway, it showed they're active. FMCSA, it's like, oh yeah, it showed they're active. They didn't quite post the pending cancel yet. So, there's ways that they can do that, but I wouldn't be surprised with all those things. And we deal with that in fraud. Like we got investigative units at the companies I work with and like bulldog attorneys, and we hear the craziest stuff. So yeah, you're right. There's a lot of stuff out there that will blow your mind.
I just look at it, if there's a will, there's a way, right? Like I try to think like a criminal here. Like, what would I do? I've just found that doing things legally and ethically pays a lot better. And I don't have to worry if a 3-letter agency is going to kick down my door anytime soon, because I follow the rules. But I look at a lot of this stuff where it's like, to me, it's like, I'm not claiming credit for anything here, but like I had mentioned the CDL schools a long time ago. And I said, when that first crash happened, I had said they need to go after the CDL schools. Then they need to investigate the DMVs who are issuing the CDLs, because I think that is that final layer is they are going in. And again, you have the CDL schools who are training them or giving them a piece of paper that they are. They have the finance company who's fronting the equipment and everything else that comes along with it. They have the ELDs, so now they can cook their books. They have the fake insurance, which I am almost 100% convinced that is what it is. It's not actual insurance. That's how they're able to flip through new equipment, reincarnate, chameleon carrier, all of that stuff. And then, but it starts with the DMVs. And I think that that's where a lot of these these guys are. That's why they're attacking these certain states. This isn't a red or a blue thing, you guys. Like this is true. And I said this a couple of years ago, man. This is truly a matter of national security. All right. This is a true front line to terrorism. This is what it is if you get a bunch of these guys out there, and again, I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but if you want to shut a country down, you shut down their supply lines. Read a history book. All right. What do you think they did for millennia prior to this, right? They cut off the supply chain lines. And I think like what they do is they got in with a couple of key DMV reps. And again, they go in, anybody who's been to a DMV in the United States knows how miserable of an experience it is. But I guarantee they got in to the right person and they're paying them under the table. You know, this is a complete arbitrary number, $5,000, $10,000 cash a month. Everybody we send in, we'll let you know, approve them, approve them, approve them. And that is how it's all done. I think that's how it's all going to be connected. And then save this episode, bookmark this right now. It might be in a year from now or 2 years from now, after all of it's said and done, that is going to be the process that they're using.
Yeah. No, it's going to be interesting to watch it unfold, but I'm glad it's actually put a spotlight on it. Like Chameleon, like that's just a piece of the puzzle, but it's a piece that for years, the insurance companies have been looking at solving, which is it creates obviously a headache for the consumer because there's a little bit more scrutiny and the application process becomes a little bit more burdensome, but it's necessary though. Like you can't just open up, shut down. And honestly, those are the windows and the windows of opportunity for organized crime outside of the channel kind of via you're looking at. But let's say to purchase an MC or DOT is like, and I see this in Facebook, or I see this in groups. Oh, I've got a 2.5-year-old, 3-year-old MC number for sale. And it's like, you know, who wants to buy that? Because like, unless you're buying an actual company entity that's longstanding, it's a corporate, you know, entity switch. It doesn't mean anything. That experience gets wiped anyway. And anyone that's halfway smart is going to look at that. Any broker, any customer, any insurance company, they're going to be like, this is not an established DOT. Yeah, the DOT number is 2 years old, 3 years old, but you're brand new. Like we can see that. So there's triggers there. There's opportunities, windows of opportunities there for people to kind of try to take advantage of that to where they think, oh, I don't have to wait my 6 months to go book freight now, or I don't got to, you know, I get the 2 years of insurance break. Like it's like when you're 16 as a kid and then you turn 25, your insurance goes down. Well, my insurance hasn't gone down since, so I don't know what that was about, but it's kind of that same theory. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, shit, mine's only gone up. I don't know what I did wrong.
No, that's such a fallacy, though, because and they said that at 25. We're both 40. My shit hasn't gone down once.
Dude, mine keeps going up, man. It's wild. I'm like, I didn't even have an accident, no tickets or anything. I'm like, why did it, you know, now I feel the pain because I actually, I've been doing this for so long. You know, I just turned 40 and I started insurance when I was 20. And so as a kid, you don't know anything, right? I was dumb. I was young. I didn't know anything. But now as I did it, I start to get it and understand. And then like, you know, I insure a lot of friends, family. We do a lot of different things. Obviously, trucking, transportation companies is the bulk of what I do, but we do a lot more. And so, yeah, I feel it and I pay it. And I don't get, just because I sell insurance doesn't mean anything. I get no favoritism, no breaks. I promise. It's I just get the commission off of it. That's it.
Yeah, dude. I think though that like no matter what, and like it's something that needs to happen, and it's not going to be pretty, but like I think all the legitimate providers out there, I think it's going to get darker before the sun comes out here. I truly do. But I think there will be a golden age in transportation for the legitimate providers, brokers, and carriers alike. That is on the horizon. That is going to be like something nobody's ever seen before. And my opinion on this has changed exponentially as the current administration continues to drop the hammer on this. I truly feel like this is what is going to usher in an era that if you're operating in an ethical manner, you have a clean record, you're like doing it the way that I would argue 95% of business owners do, right? Like I don't know of too many people who go into business hoping to commit fraud and lose everything. But I look at it as those carriers that are out there that are doing the right thing now, I think they are about to embark on a golden age that is going to make COVID look like child's play. I truly do, because there is going to be such intense scrutiny on how carriers are set up by shippers as well. This isn't just a broker thing. I think shippers are going to start adopting a lot of this stuff here soon, that once you're in and you're servicing them at a high level, you are going to have so much opportunity that is going to fall into your lap, because they are not going. If you think it's hard to onboard customers now, just wait until we come through this next storm that I think is going to happen. There is going to be an age of opportunity that might never come back ever again.
Yeah. And I'm hoping this is kind of one of those little turning points that we've been hoping for about what, 3.5 years, or longer. Like, I don't know. It's been a minute. So like we kind of keep, and I listen to economists, I listen to ATA, I listen to all these different folks like every single year on predictions and what's going on world economy, which affects local economy, and then construction economy, consumer, all the different things. And yeah, maybe this is one of those catalysts, which I do think it will be. It'll reward the people, like you said, that did it right, that are doing it right, that are doing it the correct way. I think it's like integrity, right? You just kind of keep doing the right thing long enough, and eventually it'll work, right? Like it's going to work long term, though. It's not like this flash in the pan. You're doing it unethically, or you're doing it maybe not even unethically, but maybe not the correct way. And your risk there is way higher, like to shut down. Like statistically, businesses shut down, all of them eventually. In trucking, it's terrible though, right? Because like in the first year, 50% or more trucking companies will fail in the first year. And then second year, it's another, these are probably 2-year-old stats, but probably 40-something%. I can't remember the exact amount. But I am here in a few weeks, actually, I'm going to be going up to Great West, and there's a deal that they put on where they bring in attorneys and ATA, and they bring in some, just all kinds of different folks with economists and different things. That's going to be pretty insightful. So I'm excited for that. And that's usually where I get a huge amount of value from, like state level, legislative level, legal environment for the different venues, and along with things like this, right? These are definitely going to be hot topics, which will be good. So,
I agree. And I just look at it, man, like we're at a point in time where the higher the standards, the better off the future of our industry and frankly, our country is going to be, right? Like we need high, like it should be and I've said this countless times as well. I don't want loopholes for anybody, right? I don't care whether you're the wealthiest person or the poorest. I want set standards that everybody has to abide by. Like there are no loopholes. None of that is happening, because like I look at it as every business, like, you talk about the failure rate. How many of those trucking companies who came in that were doing the right thing, how many of those businesses would still be in business if there was a actual set standard out there that was applied rigorously? And I'm of the mindset that the punishment should be so severe, it sets a literal example that makes everybody question, fuck, I don't know if this is worth it anymore. If they did that to that guy, I got to stop right now. I look at it like that, because we need more legitimate and I'm not blaming any one group of people. I want to be very, very clear. It is not one group. There are bad actors across the entire board. I want to see standards increase, so the people out there who have the right intentions, who want to build a sustainable company, have an actual fair shot, and there are no more loopholes that allow things to go on that causes like, I don't want to call them artificial, but like causes rapid spikes or drops in rates or anything like that. Not the free market's going to be the free market, but again, there should be no loopholes that allow people to not all be held to the exact same standards. Because I think when you level the playing field from a legislative perspective, that is going to open up the door for more quality providers to want to stay in business.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's tough. I mean, you still got, how do you enforce it? Right now we got enforcement things. And do we want the government in charge of this to enforce this to the level that you're talking about? Like, so that's kind of where it's like, the failure rate thing. I mean, I think most of the people that get into And like that type of job where you can actually become, you're a driver, company driver. You can actually buy a truck, lease a truck, borrow a truck, figure it out, start a company. You now just became a business owner. But what you didn't do, or maybe didn't have, was a business owner mindset, or didn't know where to go get the education or read the right books or follow the right people or get the right advice at the truck stop or whatever the issue was. Everyone has an opinion, right? They're going to tell you all kinds of shit on what to do for that. And at the end of the day, though, you got to run it like and as a business. And most people fail to do that. That's what I see anyway for a lot of that piece. But then, yes, outside of like making it so easy that somebody can just start a company that has no business starting a company, that's the, all the stuff that we're talking about right now, including opening up fraud and all the different things there. That is the issue. And I think, I don't know how to go about that, but, it needs to be done. Something needs done.
No, for sure. I think like, they need to unleash the hounds, we could call it, in regards to, we need to let DOT officers do their job. We need to let highway patrol do their job, and they need to enforce the laws, because I don't think there needs to be any like technical legislative changes to how they just need to enforce this shit. And I think if they did that at the level that it needs to be done, it's never going to stop everything or absolve it entirely. Because unfortunately, criminals are always going to be here. They're just going to adapt.
Yeah.
But I look at it is how do we severely drop the likelihood of it occurring again? And I think that if the laws were administered at the levels that they are, and they made punishments very, very severe, there's this one thing called repercussions for your actions. I don't know. I guess I got slapped growing up, so I know what they are. But I feel like we need that out there in the world, where it's like, you need to actually figure out your repercussions. And if you're going to break the law, you need to be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law that deters future people from acting in such manner.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny because we kind of deal with this on the insurance side. Like the barrier to entry or the bar is fairly low. So you get people that have never read an actual insurance policy and don't understand it, that are out there advising you and your customers that just because it's trucking, they think it's attractive because maybe there's more commission in it or whatever. And then all of a sudden it's like you're putting your faith in someone or some, policy that you're like, oh, I'm covered. I'm good. I got a piece of paper. And it's like, no, you're not.
Dude,
it's wild.
That's just the internet now, right? Everybody's a genius, and everybody's got all the best advice. And I'm not saying I know everything, but at least I don't have a fucking course behind the scenes that I'm trying to sell you guys on. Like, I'm just speaking from my perspective about somebody who actually does the job. Just like Cam. Cam actually sells insurance. He's been doing it for a very long time, and he just wants to see people stay in business. But dude, I'm going to have you back on again. I love having you on, Cam. You're one of the few people that just tells the unfiltered truth about shit and really helps people out. But how does anybody reach out to you to find out more about what you got going on?
LinkedIn. So it's probably a good way, or Cameron, Cameron at valleytruckinginsurance.com, or just go to valleytruckinginsurance.com. It's probably the best way. But if people want to just chat too, like not even necessarily like talk insurance or get quotes or anything, just either LinkedIn and message me or shoot me an email and just let me know. And I'm happy to connect. So
absolutely. I appreciate it. Cam, thank you so much. But that's going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, you guys. And if you're feeling ambitious, rank that show on iTunes and Spotify, because if you see value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang, window down, yelling out money, anything. Hey, ooh, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when I'm